I was born January the 25th, 1915, on a snowy morning in Henderson County, Tennessee, near a little town of Beach Bluff. My parents were William Ed and Maisie Jane King. My mother died when I was 3 weeks old. When I was 1 month old, my dad moved me back to his parents' home with Grandpa, Grandma, and a 15-year-old uncle, Gilbertdale. My earliest memory was January the 12th, 1918, before I was 3 years old. My dad's feet froze, and he had to go to the hospital and have them removed. I remember going to the hospital to see him with my grandpa and a neighbor. We went in a top buggy, about 20 miles, all dirt roads. When I was 5.5 years old, my uncle married, and I was mad. I didn't want him to leave home. When he brought his wife back home, I was told that I had to call him uncle and her aunt. But for the life of me, I never could call him uncle because he seemed too much like a brother. When I was 7 years old, my grandmother died, leaving my dad, granddad, and I. They did most of the housework and all the cooking except the dishes, and I had all the dishes to do. When I was 9 years old, they told me I had to take over the housekeeping. I've been cooking ever since. I kept house, did the washing, ironing, worked in the garden, field, and also had milking to do. My grandpa and I went to church, someplace almost every Sunday. If we was able, we only had 2 sermons a month at our Baptist church, where he was a member, every first Saturday at 2 o'clock and every Sunday at 11. We would have as many Methodists and Presbyterians as we did Baptists then. On other Sundays, we would attend churches at one of the other churches, as they too only had monthly meetings, and everybody went to church, regardless of the denomination. They were all friends and neighbors and fellowship together. My grandpa died when I was 13 years old, left Dad and I. During our revival in August, when I was 13, I was saved and joined the church, was baptized in a farm pond along with 16 others. I kept house for my dad, and we farmed until 1931. He went to Dyersburg to go to work in a cotton mill, and I didn't want to go. I went to live with an 85-year-old woman. I lived with her till I married July 31st, 1932. My husband was a farmer. We gathered the crop he had that fall and made one the next year. On June the 7th, 1933, our first child, a daughter, was born. We stayed on the farm until spring of 36, and our son was born January the 6th, 1936. That spring we moved to Jackson, where my husband worked in a bakery for about a year. We moved back to the farm, and he got hard at the railroad shop, and I continued to chop or pick cotton for other people, and pick beans, strawberries, or anything else where it could make a little money. In October 16, 1938, our third child, a daughter, was born. He got laid off at the railroad shop, was off for about 6 months, then was called back in 1940. We bought a place near his work, and in November of 1942, our fourth child, a son, was born. When he was not quite 2 years old, October 1944, my husband died, leaving me with 4 children. The oldest, 12 years old, and the youngest, not quite 2. I continued to hire out to pick cotton, hoe cotton, and finally went to work at the Dixie Candy Company. I worked there a while and went to the laundry. I worked there for a while, but could make more money on the farm. I met Ray in the cotton patch. We was chopping cotton for his nephew. We were married in April 1948, made 2 crops after we were married. He saw an ad in the paper about Caterpillar. We had never heard of Peoria, Illinois before. He come to Peoria in October 1950, went to work. Me and the children came January 1951. My oldest grandchild was 1 month old. Her dad was prisoner of war in Korea. They were with us for 3 years until he was released. Our oldest son was born June the 26, 1951. We moved to a basement house on Park Avenue in East Peoria. November the 11th, 1953, our second son was born. We moved to Pekin, and our third son was born May the 12th, 1957, Mother's Day. We went to several churches during this time, but never joined any of them until we came to Elmridge about 5 years ago. We have been happy in this church, have made many friends, which we are very thankful for. God has been really good to us.
Thank you, Ruby. I really enjoyed that.